If you search the internet for the planes that carried nuclear bombs over the skies of Japan, you will find the answers Enola Gay and Boxcar. But what are Enola Gay and Boxcar? Well, let's go back 78 years ago to explore the flashback story when Enola Gay devastated a quarter of Hiroshima city. This story takes place on August 6, 1945. A modified Boeing B-29 Superfortress aircraft named Enola Gay dropped the first atomic bomb used in warfare. This first nuclear attack by the United States was codenamed Little Boy. Under the Silver Plate Project in June 1943, the Silver Plate B-29 didn't have armored plates or upper and lower gun turrets, reducing the aircraft's total weight by 7,200 pounds. Enola Gay, with serial number 44-86292, was built by Martin Company at the Bomber Factory in Bellevue, Nebraska. The Boeing B-29 Superfortress aircraft made it a perfect representation of a modern plane in 1945. With a combination of aerodynamic, structural, and propulsion innovations, the B-29 could fly farther, faster, and higher. It could carry 5,000 pounds of bombs to targets up to 1,500 miles away while flying at a speed of 220 miles per hour at altitudes of up to 30,000 feet. The B-29 was also equipped with advanced tricycle landing gear, and was one of the first bomber aircraft with a computer-controlled defensive weapons system. Additionally, the aircraft's fuselage was pressurized and heated. Through the pressurization system, the B-29 could protect the crew from the psychological risks caused by low air pressure at altitudes above 10,000 feet. As a result, these advanced features eliminated the need for the 11-person crew to wear oxygen masks and bulky rigid clothing during long missions. The B-29 aircraft was personally selected by Colonel Paul Warfield Tibbets Jr., the commander of the 509th Composite Group, on May 9, 1945, while still on the assembly line. The aircraft was accepted by the United States Army Air Forces on May 18, 1945, and assigned to the 393rd Bomb Squadron under the 509th Composite Group. The B-29 crew, commanded by Captain Robert A. Lewis, received the bomber aircraft, and flew it from Omaha to the 509th base at Wendover Army Airfield in Utah on June 14, 1945. 13 days later, the aircraft left Wendover for Guam, where it received modifications for the bomb bay, and continued its flight to Northfield, Tinian. During July, the bomber made 8 training flights, and on July 31, the Enola Gay was used in a training flight for the actual mission. On Tinian, the 509th Composite Group, under the operational control of the 20th Air Force headquartered in Washington, D.C., issued Special Bombing Mission No. 13 on August 2, targeting the city of Hiroshima. According to the viewpoint of the United States, they had no other option but to use an atomic bomb on Japan. The U.S. believed that Japan was stubborn, and if the prolonged war continued, both sides would suffer greater casualties and losses. Alright, let's return to Enola Gay. Finally, on August 5, 1945, during preparations for the first atomic mission, Tibbets took over command of the aircraft and named it after his mother, Enola Gay. Around 2 a.m. on August 6, 1945, Enola Gay departed from Tinian Island to Hiroshima, Japan. During the journey to Japan, Enola Gay was not alone. It was accompanied by 2 other B-29 aircraft, the Great Artiste and Necessary Evil. At 7 a.m., the Japanese radar detected aircraft heading towards Japan, and the warning was broadcasted throughout the Hiroshima area. However, the people of Hiroshima, thinking it was just weather reconnaissance planes, and ignored the warning and continued their usual activities. Then, again and again, at 8 a.m., the Japanese radar once again detected B-29s approaching the city, and radio stations broadcasted another warning for people to take cover. However, sadly, many residents of Hiroshima disregarded the warning and continued their daily routines. At 8:09 a.m., the Enola Gay's crew could see the city of Hiroshima clearly from above and received a message indicating good weather over Hiroshima. Shortly after, at 8:15 a.m., Little Boy exploded, instantly killing 80,000 to 140,000 people and injuring over 100,000 more. Little Boy took 53 seconds to fall from the aircraft flying at an altitude of 31,060 feet, and within less than a second of touching the ground, the fireball had expanded to a radius of 900 feet, resulting in the destruction of over two-thirds of Hiroshima's buildings. Eyewitnesses located more than 5 miles from the point of impact reported that the atomic weapon emitted a brightness exceeding that of the sun tenfold. The majority of casualties from this incident were due to the massive fires that ensued. Back again, after Enola Gay successfully dropped the bomb from the fuselage, the immense explosion created a mushroom cloud and affected a 13-square-kilometer area of Hiroshima. Japan painfully suffered the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives, both at the moment of detonation and for months after the bombing incident. Moreover, it wasn't just the physical destruction that Japan faced. After that, around 30 minutes after the explosion, heavy rain began to fall in the northwest part of the city. This rain, known as black rain, was not clear water but rather black in color. This black rain was laden with dirt, debris, ash, and radioactive particles that were sucked into the air during the explosion and subsequent fires. Consequently, the fallout from this rain led to contamination in areas far from the blast. On the other hand, survivors of the atomic bomb attack, known as Hibakusha, started searching for medical assistance, but 90% of the medical personnel in Hiroshima had either died or been incapacitated. These bomb survivors then began to experience the effects of radiation exposure, including nausea, bleeding, hair loss, susceptibility to leukemia, cataracts, and malignant tumors. Now, shifting to the Japanese side. After the United States successfully devastated Hiroshima, Japan swiftly formed the Atomic Bomb Countermeasures Committee, composed of members from the Ministry of War, Navy, Interior, and including representatives from the Technical Council. The committee's first meeting was held on August 7, where one group strongly insisted that the bomb dropped by the United States was not an atomic bomb. This group argued that even if America had developed an atomic bomb, they wouldn't transport an unstable weapon like an atomic device across the Pacific to Japan. The group also added that they actually didn't know what the future held, but up until that point, they still believed that the United States hadn't fully perfected the atomic bomb as a weapon. Instead, the group claimed that the explosion was the result of a new type of bomb with special equipment, but its contents were unknown. Meanwhile, on the other side, Army and Navy personnel who sent to investigate Hiroshima initially didn't believe that the destruction was caused by an atomic bomb. However, after observing the extent and nature of the devastation, and noting that the destruction differed from that caused by conventional bombs, they began to slightly believe that the United States had indeed perfected and used an atomic bomb. Then Japan itself was lagging behind in its nuclear bomb development. After successfully completing its mission, Enola Gay returned safely to its base in Tinian in a triumphant manner. Enola Gay and the crew landed at 2:58 p.m. after a 12-hour and 13-minute journey. The return of Enola Gay was also accompanied by the B-29's The Great Artiste and Necessary Evil. Upon arrival at the base, several hundred people, including journalists and photographers, gathered to witness the plane's return. Tibbets was the first to disembark and was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross on the spot. After Japan surrendered on September 2, 1945, the B-29 Enola Gay underwent several transfers. It was stationed at an airfield in Arizona, at Pyote Army Airfield in Texas, and at Andrews Army Airfield in Maryland for its final flight. Then, on December 5, 1984, a significant restoration was carried out on the aircraft. Since it had been out of operation for a long time, the aircraft was in a woeful condition, with many parts damaged, and even birds nesting in various compartments. Specialists estimated that this project would take 7 to 9 years to complete, but in reality, the project spanned nearly 2 decades and, upon completion, it took around 300,000 hours of work. Then, after being meticulously restored, Enola Gay was finally put on full display at the National Air and Space Museum in Chantilly, Virginia. Well, that's the story from 78 years ago, where the B-29 Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Thank you for watching, and if there are any mistakes in the video, please correct them in the comment section.